This is the Note Closers Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We are excited to have you here on episode 152 of the Note Closers Show. We are so excited. I have to quit using "so excited" every morning, not here, but it is what we are. We're honored, I should say, very honored and excited to have our good buddy Aaron Young joining us this morning on the podcast show. So good morning, Aaron Young. How are you doing this morning, brother?
Morning, brother Scott. Morning, brother Scott. I'm honored too, and I think you should be honored. I think that you should feel honored to have me today. I like when people say that because I always feel a little awkward. Like, what am I supposed to say back to that? But good for you. It is lucky to have me on your show.
Yes, it is. Amen to that.
I want to show you. We're on video, right?
Yep, we're live streaming this.
I just want to point out my award, my Scott Carson Award.
Yep.
You gave me at one of your events with the bats that fly around on Austin from the bridge. So I want you to know this is every day a place of honor in my studio here, my set.
For those that are watching this on Facebook Live, make sure you definitely want some questions from you guys from Aaron here in a second. But Aaron, actually, tell everybody out there where home is and where you're calling from today.
Well, my home is in a little place called Amboy, Washington, which is not quite in the path of totality for the upcoming eclipse this coming Monday, but we will have a 99% 99% eclipse. We have this is a real estate show. I have a beach house that I own in that's right in the middle of the path of totality that somebody said, you can rent that thing. And so we rented it for $1,000 a night, minimum 4 nights. So we get 99% of it from our farm up here in Washington, where we would have gotten 1% more for that, 4 minutes that we get to see it. And I thought $4,000 was better. Yeah. So
that's a nice 1% extra, right, brother?
I feel great about that. But yeah, we live in Washington. We live on a little 25-acre place, about 45 minutes out of Portland, Oregon. We get to, I travel all over the place and give talks and stuff all over the place. So when I come home, I get to watch the little goats frolic, and I get to go out and mess with my horses, and it's pitch black at night. The Perseid meteor shower's been going on. We're watching it, from our backyard, no light pollution. It's great. For a guy who spends what feels like maybe half of his life in hotel rooms, it's really fun to come back out to the farm and live in a quiet place. So that's longer than you wanted me to answer, but that's
okay. In the short, he is a nationally traveling goat herder, everybody.
That's what it is. That's dang right. I just walk around talking about the benefits of goats and goat manure for your garden and spreading whatever other kind of stuff I can.
Well, let's talk about what you do during your other part-time stuff aspect of that too, real fast, for everybody that doesn't know. Aaron is a regular on our virtual workshop. So we have once a quarter, actually the next one being next week, next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, along with being on our regular twice a year note camps is what Aaron's. I see your eyes rolling like, am I scheduled for that? I got to figure out my schedule.
Well, I'll come back to you. That's something did just come up in my mind, but that's okay because I love being on your program, and we'll make that happen.
So why don't you take a second for those that don't know you, know what you do. Tell them a little bit what you do and what Laughlin Associates is all about, real fast.
Sure. So I've been starting or buying companies for my whole career, 34 years. Back in 2001, I had the opportunity to buy a company called Laughlin Associates, which is the original Nevada incorporation business. If you've ever heard that Nevada is a cool place to incorporate, Mr. Laughlin, Harley Laughlin, started that whole industry back in 1972. So I was already a competitor in that market to Laughlin. And when Mr. Laughlin died, we bought the company and kind of morphed all of our incorporation businesses together, which is now Laughlin Associates or Laughlin USA, which is how you find us on the web. And we help just tens and tens of thousands of business owners form business entities like corporations, LLCs, limited partnerships, nonprofits, and help them build a fortress, build a wall around their personal and business assets so that they can avoid lawsuits. We make sure they're following all the rules so they can defend their tax deductions and really use their business to the greatest extent to give them opportunities to create and protect their wealth. And so it's a fun business to be in because we meet fascinating people, hear great stories, and not to be too weird, but also because we get to work with great people like you and all of your followers, Scott, that are out there building wealth in real estate. And we have this great component that helps them hold it. We just have all these fun affiliations and no joke, no kidding, all funniness aside or goofiness aside, our relationship with you guys is one of our most cherished relationships. So we're grateful for that. And I always love to be doing this stuff. But you said at the beginning before we started, just two guys talking. So I thought I'd take some liberty with that.
Hey,
so anyway.
That's completely fine. Not a problem at all. So let's talk a little bit about that because we get a lot of people that come up into our system and our atmosphere and our galaxy, I guess you could say, looking to get into investing and looking to leave their job for the first time. And there's always well, what do I need to do? And I love the fact that you come off, hey, start with the end in mind. So why don't you share a little bit what your three biggest things, if somebody's becoming a new entrepreneur or starting a new business, what are probably the three biggest things that they need to do to begin with?
Yeah. Well, first of all, figure out, it's funny. I had a great conversation with a young lady last night. Actually, I met her with you. Oh yeah. We were standing in that line at Epcot for that Christmas concert.
Yeah.
And do you remember I ended up in a conversation with this 20-something-year-old girl and her mom. Yeah. And then a couple nights later, Steph and I ended up getting on the monorail car with this girl and her parents.
Yes.
How weird is that?
Whoa, that is weird. I do remember that girl because they were hanging around. Yeah.
She was a Duke graduate. She was working as a buyer for Abercrombie and Fitch. And anyway, she's now working for Nordstrom as a buyer up in Seattle. And she called me yesterday and said, "Can you help me? I have this. I think I have my entrepreneurial idea figured out now." So this goes right to your question. So we're talking last night, and she said, "Well, I want to do this and this and this and this," and she had like these 4 things that she feels that she's great at, and she wanted to figure out a way to amalgamate those things together. And I said, "Well, okay." I said, first of all, so here's your answer. First of all, what is it you want out of doing this? I mean, what's the end result that you as an individual want? Because most people can't answer that question. They say, well, I want to make money. I want to be my own boss, whatever. But that's the wrong answer. The answer is because you can make money and be miserable. You can be your own boss and be working more hours than you ever would for anybody else and making less money. So the question is, what do you want to have the outcome be? What do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be able to spend more time with your children? Do you want to become famous and a big, captain or, of industry? Do you want to go out and do more service work? So what's the outcome that you want? That's first. Second thing is, does the product or service that you want to bring to the market, does anybody else want it? Like, because a lot of people have these ideas of this genius thing they've come up with, and then they cannot understand why nobody's buying it. and you look at the richest people that I've ever met, and the third thing is make sure that you get the right entities, the right education, the right mentors, the right coaches, the right team around you so that you can accomplish the goal. And, I teach all that in the Unshackled Owner class, but let me go back to this deal about product or service. And your people might want to write this down. The fastest way to get rich, if you want to know the fastest way to get rich, write this down. And it's not a joke. It's going to seem like a joke, but it's not. It's find out what people want, go out and get it, and give it to them. That's the way to get rich. People are way too often trying to bring their own idea to market, and then they wonder why nobody buys it. But you guys provide something with the note business that, first of all, most people don't know it exists. Most people don't know how little money it takes to get into the game. And most people don't have any clue the kind of returns they can make. If they have $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 in their savings, that they can build a whole wealth, a whole portfolio of real estate, but they don't know it. So when you say, what do you want? I want to get rich. Okay, here's a way to get rich. Let me show you how to do it. That's find out what they want, go out and get it, give it to them. Right. But yet I run into people constantly who are just going to bloody their face against the pavement of the reality of life because they're trying to force something onto market the market doesn't want. So, when you say, what's the advice? I'd say, what do you want out of it? Does the world care about what you're doing? And then can you put the right team and capital together to do it? That's the way to do it.
I love that. We're going to use the hashtag fastest way to get rich. All right. That's
fastest way to get rich.
Fastest way to get rich. But we see that. We have a lot of people come over either as existing real estate investors who've been doing things one way, or they went to a workshop, not a note workshop, but you've gone to, and spent money on fix and flips or short sales or tired landlords that want to get away from that aspect because they started off with the idea, hey, I want to be a real estate investor. And then it evolved to something they didn't want to be a part of. Too much work, too much capital outlay, not enough returns.
Yeah.
And then figuring out that, okay, if I become a lien lord, the dark lord of liens, that they could have a lot more fun, a lot less money involved, higher returns, and a lot higher quality of life because they're not doing so much work themselves.
Yeah, people unfortunately, most people, like when they go to college, like let's say you're in high school and you're gonna go to college. Now, I think you went to college. I went to college for 1 year. I'm not 100% sure I got grades. I don't know what I did. I was in the show choir, and all I did was travel around the United States and Canada and singing, and I dated lots of girls, and I went to class sometimes. But honestly, I'm not joking, Scott. I don't know if I got grades or not. So, and then by the time I was,
the singing goat herder.
Oh yeah. High on the hill, there's a lonely goat.
Now that makes a lot more sense. Now I never knew that you were in show choir. That's why you and Steph gets along so well.
Oh my gosh, I was little Mr. Song and Dance, jazz hands. But I'm glad for the people that are watching on video. I'm putting on quite a show here. If you're listening to this, just imagine something really strange. But the point is that, I went to that 1 year college, and then I didn't go back to college and started businesses. What I see with young people all the time is they say, I'm going to go to college. I say, well, what are you going to study? Business or advertising or, whatever, something kind of usually kind of useless. Like, well, it's interesting. Good for you for doing that. And I say, well, why? See, there it goes back to begin with the end of mind. So what are you going to do? Yeah. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to go to more school and be an MBA and then get a job in sales for some, medium-sized company. Right? Is that true?
Yeah, I totally agree.
80% of the world's billionaires never graduated from college. And so you have to ask yourself, what are you going to college for? You're going to college to become an employee. That's why you're going to college. True?
Totally agree.
And then they go, well, I'm going to be a lawyer because lawyers make a lot of money, or a doctor because doctors make a lot of money. What they don't understand is that the lawyers and doctors are coming to guys like you to say, how do I get out of the doldrums of making $180,000, $200,000 a year and starting to make real money, or money where I'm not having to be up at weird hours of the night or getting called and dealing with everybody else's troubles. I can just start building a portfolio that works for me. Henry Ford said, most people spend so much time working that there's no time left to make money. Isn't that interesting?
That's a good quote. That's a good quote.
So I'm full of stuff, Scott.
You're on fire this morning.
Anyway, well, you're letting me just talk instead of teaching a class. But anyway, the point is people come to us because they've got big ideas. People stick with us because we help them make sure that the idea is safe. But it's guys like you who are actually putting tactics and strategies in place, showing people the path to follow to build real wealth. And that's why, the very first time we met, at an event down in San Diego, I pulled you to the back of the room and I'm like, hey, I make money and everything, but I need to know more about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And
I continue to be fascinated with what you guys are doing.
Right. But that's one of the great things is we do great things, but there are some basic things that any entrepreneur needs to do besides the three things. Let's dive into that a little bit here for on asset protection, because I see so many people, and I'm sure you do too, and your whole staff at Laughlin, who get busy kind of going down that road of doing things and being in business or making money, and they're not set up properly on an asset protection aspect of that. So one of the biggest things we always get people, well, do I need an entity or like an LLC to be in business, or an S corp or things like that? You want to give any recommendations on that, Aaron?
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If you think you're going to be in business, like if you say, I'm going to be in business, I'm going to start a business. I don't even know what the business is yet. I'm exploring. I'm going to go to a Scott Carson event. I'm going to go to a franchise expo. I'm going to go whatever. I'm going to attend some things. So you're spending money every time you go to those places, right? You're buying airplane tickets. You're buying admission. You're sleeping in a hotel. You're buying food at a hotel, which is expensive. Drinking water at a hotel, which is, $5 for a little bottle of Perrier. But anyway, all the money you're spending, if you're doing that as a sole proprietor, in other words, just as you can write off some of that against profits that you might make. But most people, when they first start, aren't making any profits. They're only having losses. They're only expending money. Well, if you're set up as a proper corporation or a properly set up LLC, a lot of people goof this up on LLCs, but let's just stick to corporations for a minute. If you're a properly organized corporation or a properly organized multi-member LLC, all of those expenses can be kind of gathered up into a basket. And while you're just in the process of figuring out what you want to do and investing money to learn about yourself and learn about business opportunities, that all gets put it together in a basket. And when you get to the end of the year and you didn't have profits, but you had all these losses, right? In a properly organized company, then you can do what's called a tax loss carry forward into 2018, 2019. You can carry it forward for 20 years. So people say, well, when's the right time to get a corporation or an LLC, depending on if it's two or more members. And I say, well, if you're serious about exploring being in business, do it now, because you're going to spend a few $100s to form that entity. You don't need to go to a big law firm and spend $5,000. You can do it through a company like us, or you can find other companies online. And for a few $100s, you can set it up and start accumulating all your losses so that next year or the year after that, when you have profits, you can take all the old losses and push down your new profits and pay less tax. So people are like, well, my accountant said I have to wait till I've got $50,000 a year in profits. And I'm like, what? What? I mean, how long did it take you to get there? Most people are not looking at how valuable it is to have a business entity. There's a great book called Tax Advice for Dummies, something like that. Anyway, a guy named Sandy Botkin wrote the book, and his quote in there says, you would have to be brain dead to not start a business, even if it's just getting involved in a multi-level marketing company as a corporation or an LLC, because of all the write-offs you can take and all the way that you can have things that were coming out of your after-tax check can now come out of your pre-tax expenses of your business. It's amazing how forming an entity will dramatically improve your life. So when do you start? You start with that. And then you make sure you're using the right entity, because a C Corp or an S Corp or an LLC, they're all different. They're not one's sort of old school, one's more modern. A lot of people want LLCs because they think they're cooler or more hip, or more modern. That's just wrong. What they are is they're a very specific tool. It's like saying I have a Formula One race car, I have a minivan, and I have a dump truck. All of them can get you from point A to point B, but they're designed for very different purposes. So we need to understand what the purpose is first, get you in the right entity, because that's going to give you the best tax deductions and it's going to give you the most streamlined way of using the entity, and it's going to give you the protection, which is really the most important part, the asset protection, the lawsuit protection, the Kevlar vest around your business. It's if you have the right entity, you're going to get the right protection. If you have the wrong entity, you might think you're protected, and then you get up into a hassle with some adversary, and you find out, ooh, I've been paying for this for 4 years, and it's not giving me any value. It's not protecting me. So those are things that people need to know about at the beginning, and there is no one size fits all. But I'll tell you, after hundreds of thousands of customers over 45 years, we've heard pretty much every story. and if people want help with that, it's free. Consulting is free at Laughlin. So if you want to call, we have people that have orbited us for years and never bought anything, but they download every ebook, they attend every free webinar, they call and talk to our consultants. And that's okay, because we know at some point, if we do a good job teaching them, when they have the right circumstances, or they finally muster the courage to jump from their W-2 job into something else, that hopefully they'll choose us, because we've been educating them along the way. So if anybody is wondering, I don't know if it's time for me yet, just know there are resources that are free that are there to help you get ready to be ready.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? For those of you guys that have questions about starting an entity or which way to go, that would be the time you want to post it in either Facebook or
We actually have one.
We have a couple. Okay, good.
Casey Lane, do you have to have your LLC registered in every state you buy notes in?
So, Casey, I don't know if you heard that, Aaron, didn't?
I did. Do you have to have your LLC registered in every state to buy notes? No, you don't. There's a famous case about with Wrigley chewing gum, and the government was trying to say they needed to be registered in all states because they're selling chewing gum in all states, and the court said no, they don't have to be, because they're not actually doing business in that state. They can own something, or they can have transactions, they can make money, but they don't, as long as they're not there like operating. If you had an office there and you had employees that were going out and doing property management of your, and that was all stuff that you owned, then you'd have to be registered in that state as a foreign corporation. But to just own stuff, the answer is no.
Good question. Good answer. What are some of the free or some of the resources you're done, like the phone number or the website for people to check out some more information here real fast?
Oh, yeah. We'll go to Laughlin, Laughlin. It's like Laughlin, LaughlinUSA.com. And just start pushing buttons. Just look around. It looks like a nice, simple, clean website, but there are hundreds of pages. You can get very, very detailed information there. You can call us 775-883-8484, 775-883-8484, and just tell them you want to talk to a consultant, tell them you want to talk to somebody, and you have some questions, and they'll be happy to answer your questions. Tell them you heard that we're on here with Scott Carson on the podcast or on the Facebook Live, and we have some special things we do with Scott anyway. And so, sometimes we offer special things to your people. So just, if you guys call, it's great. We'll talk to you. And if you really want to do something more, we've got an event coming up in November, a couple months away yet, but there's a lot of stuff where you can get information to really learn, where am I now? What are my options? And how do I know when to implement different things? And all that's there. The event is still, inexpensive. I don't know if should I give a
let's go ahead. Yeah, shareable, because it's one of the best events that we go to, if not the best event, because I've been going for a couple of years now, and I went initially just to learn. And let's do this. Before you talk about an event, let's talk a bit more. Laughlin, you help set up stuff, but dive into a little bit more about what the power of Laughlin is, and how amazing Debbie and Scott and Brent and everybody over there is.
Well, we have tremendous. Okay, so so I build companies where I don't have to go into the office, right? I start them. I work my butt off developing a certain culture and grow the business to a place where it can operate without me. And I've done this for 3 decades. Now the only thing I really do for Laughlin as a job is I go out and represent Laughlin on doing things like this, going out and giving speeches and so on. I spent 3 days in the office in 2016. It is today, August 17th of 2017. I have not yet been to my office in Reno. I use Zoom video conference call to manage my people, but I go out and I meet people all over the country. And, this happens at your events, but it happens everywhere I go, Scott. I'll say, is there anybody in the audience who's a Laughlin client? And everywhere I go, it doesn't matter where I go, because we've had so many clients, we have so many clients, somebody raises their hand, or, some number of people raise their hand. And I never am afraid of those people, right? I'm never afraid when those hands go up. I never go, oh my gosh, they're going to say something bad about our company. Never. And they never do. And it's because we have this phenomenal group of people that we've organized down there who are just, regular, ordinary, salt of the earth people. But because of the culture that we've built, because of the safe place we've tried to create for them, and because they understand the vision, they know in their minds, if you say, what is your job? What do you do here at Laughlin? They'll say that this is the culture. They'll say, we're fortress builders. We build a fortress around people's personal and business assets. So when they go to work, they're not customer service agent. They're not paper pusher. They're not mailroom. We're fortress builders, and they love the customers. And you know this because you've introduced a lot of your tribe to us, and you hear things. And obviously I keep getting invited back, so I'm going to assume that's a good sign. But people love my employees, and my employees love the customers, and the employees and the customers stay for a long time. We have almost a 90% renewal rate on all of our products. My average tenure for an employee is over 13 years now. So people come to us and they stay working for us for a long time, and they wouldn't do that if their job sucked. They do it because they love the work, and it comes through when a customer engages with them. And the customer always comes back and says, oh my gosh, you mentioned Debbie Cook. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. But that could have easily been Keisha or Galena or Rich or Scott or on and on times nearly 40 people. Everybody gets the same rave reviews. And it's because two things. One is we don't try to be more than we are. We know what our job is. We know what our wheelhouse is. We stay within our wheelhouse. And we also don't undersell or oversell our customers. We say, what do you want to do? Okay, here's what you need. No more, no less. So we're not trying to shortchange people with less than they want. And then they go, why didn't you tell me the rest? And we don't oversell people and go, why did you sell me all this crap that I didn't need, for something that maybe would happen down the road? So when you give an honest appraisal to somebody of what they need, and then you overperform in how you deliver on that product, and you overperform in your ongoing conversations, fulfillment, customer service, and so on, people like you and people stay. And so the power of Laughlin over some of our digital competitors that advertise a lot on the radio and on television is that you get all the technology that would come along with a Rocket Lawyer or LegalZoom or something like that, but you get kind of this boutique, very high touch interaction with our people. And by using technology and a culture of customer first and empowerment of the employees so they can make a decision and solve a problem for a client, it's a really good recipe for happy customers and renewing customers. And our business is really about relationships. We make probably 3/4 of our revenue comes from renewals, not from new sales. And believe me, as people are thinking about their business and thinking about how to grow something, it's much easier to keep a customer than to get a new one. And so that's why. I'll just tell you one more thing, and I don't know if this is what you want. Maybe you want me to tell more about our services, which I'm happy to do. But let me tell you one more thing. Well, wait, what was I going to say? It's easier to get a new or keep a customer than a new one. And never mind. I forgot where I was going to go. I totally had an idea. It popped in my brain. And Usually these headphones will keep things in place, but we're not.
So let's talk about that. What give me an example. So one of the great things we love about Laughlin is it's the constant follow-up. All right. Hey, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly doing things on a daily basis. And I think, honestly, if you're trying to a DIY, do it yourself aspect, which most entrepreneurs are doing. Oh, I started an LLC. I'll file my quarterly stuff or renew once a year and stuff like that. They don't realize that it's their business is not them. You have a great saying that you like to have everybody in the audience say when you're teaching. Once I don't take your thunder.
I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. I am not the corporation. The corporation is not me. We have them repeated a few times because most people think when they start a business that it's them, it's their, this was my money, it's my vehicle, I had to sign the lease, I've maxed out all my credit cards, it's me. But what they need to learn is that if they form a corporation or an LLC, that becomes a separate paper person, separate from them. And it's that separate person, the separation between me, the shareholder, and that entity, that project, that business going concern. It's that separation that gives us the opportunity to get the better tax treatment, to take all the tax deductions, to have lawsuit protection that keeps our personal estate separate from our business. So that if there's a problem in the business, they can't come get my personal stuff. If there's a problem in my personal stuff, they can't take my business. But the only way to get that protection is through treating your business like a real, legit corporation or LLC, which fundamentally means having a board of directors, even if it's just you, holding regular board meetings, keeping minutes of those meetings, passing resolutions, and so on, doing the things that show that you're treating this corporation or this LLC as something separate from just what's going on between your ears. Right? It's that documenting that shows that meets the standard of the law. And it's not just a good idea. It is the law. If you have a corporation or an LLC, you're required by law to hold these board meetings and so on. But most people don't do it. And then they wonder why when they get sued or they get audited, they get their butt handed to them, right? They end up getting creamed. A lot of people come to us in that, with the blood and scars of the last audit or lawsuit, all still on them. I call those people event driven. Some event happened, it woke them up, it identified the problem, and they say, I can never let that happen again. So the main thing that you're referring to about all this follow-up and all this ongoing stuff is our corporate veil protection service, where we basically become your board secretary. We call you every month. We ask you what's been going on in the business. We create the minutes and the resolutions so that those board meetings are taking place, even if we're the ones documenting them all in this conversation with you, the one member of the board. And then we send you back those documents in the proper order so you can put them in your corporate record book. If you don't have a corporate record book, we can provide one for you. The point is that one service is, in my mind, the most important thing we do. Probably half of the clients that we get every month come from law firms who know that their clients need to do this work, but the law firm doesn't really want to do it. And they know the client doesn't want to pay $300-400 an hour to create a document. So they send them to us because for basically, $80 a month for the first year, $50 a month after that, we'll do unlimited documents. We'll take care of the client. We're calling them. We're not saying, here's some templates, figure it out for yourself, fill it out. All we're saying is if you're willing to get on the phone with us for 5 minutes a month, we'll make sure that you stay compliant. And it's a tremendous service. I didn't used to like to say stuff like that. Like, it's a tremendous service. It's a tremendous value. We do a freaking awesome job. I didn't like to say it. I thought it was overly promotional, but guess what? It's a freaking awesome deal. And
it is.
The older I get and the more stories I hear from the tens of thousands of clients that we've got on this program, the more I know this is dare I say, this is a kick-ass service. And there's a reason why 87% of the people renew it every year. And I mean, you think about how many companies go out of business, right? So we're actually exceeding the odds of corporate survival. We're almost 90% of the people that use the service stick with it year over year over year. And it is great. And it's those people like Debbie, Keisha, Galena, Rich, and so on that are in that corporate veil division, they're the ones that get all the Christmas cards, all the cookies and candies, all the love notes from clients because they're talking to the client every month. They understand what's going on with the client. And it gets into more personal where, I'm sorry, I'm behind this month. My little boy got in a bicycle accident and broke his leg. Oh, my dog's in the hospital. Oh, I've been taking care of an ailing parent. Oh, we're starting another business. And it opens up opportunities for us to support them in their life and also to find opportunities to help them in their business. So it's a tremendous service. It's, I think, the most important thing we do.
I would totally agree with that because it literally, people are making decisions on a daily, weekly basis that they don't know that they've got to document, or they're going to buy an asset or sell an asset or raise capital or do a joint venture. It's important to have that documented in case somebody ever comes back, files a lawsuit, and you can actually show that, hey, it's not me, it was the company.
In your business, in your world of notes, what you just said is so right. Every time you take money in, every time you pay money out, every time you give yourself a raise, every time you sign a contract, there's supposed to be a board resolution for that stuff at or near the time. And people think, oh, I have my annual meeting, so I'm doing it. Well, that's wrong. Let me say loudly, wrong. That is wrong. If you ever get caught, if you ever get sucked into a lawsuit or an audit, you're going to find out very quickly that you've eroded whatever protection was supposed to be there because you didn't follow the as they say, remember on the old Monopoly or the game of life, you take off the box top and there was all the rules. Well, there are box top rules for your corporation or LLC, but almost nobody's following them. And they think because they're a small company that somehow it doesn't relate to them. They don't have to have a big board of directors meeting because I'm the only one. Well, that's wrong. You're breaking the law. And when you get caught, the law will not be there to protect you. You will be left flapping in the wind. And then you'll come to Scott Carson or Aaron Young and say, oh my gosh, that sucked. I can never have that happen again.
Yeah, we had a couple of people actually commented online here. Man, I wish I found Laughlin earlier.
Well, we're still here. We've been here 45 years and we'll be here tomorrow. And we'd love to talk to you. It's no matter how far behind you are, no matter how much you haven't done it before, just get this phrase into your mind. Okay. Everybody think about this. People say, oh, I'm so screwed up. I'm so behind. I'm in such trouble. I never have. Just get this phrase in mind. Up until now, I haven't kept my corporate records, but now I'm going to. Up until now, I haven't taken advantage of buying distressed real estate notes, but now I've learned how to do it. I'm going to do it. Up until now, I haven't sought out a coach like a Scott Carson or an Aaron Young or anybody else. The same gal that talked to me yesterday, the one that I met at Disney World, she's working as a buyer at Nordstrom. And she said last week they had a meeting with for new employees. It was a coffee meeting with the president of Nordstrom. And one question was asked, and the question was, now here are highly trained, highly educated kids with the president of Nordstrom, a big publicly traded company. And one question was, what was the turning point for you, president of the company, where all of a sudden, what was the turning point in your career where you really shot into the stratosphere? And the woman who's the president of Nordstrom said, I hired a coach. When I hired a coach, it helped me see things that I didn't see in myself. And that's when my career took off. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. And honestly, that's a great adjective for what Laughlin does. They are your entity coaches. They're helping you.
Well, that's true. Oh yeah. We'll coach you for sure.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to grow real successful companies, I'll coach you.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn how to make a boatload of money in real estate, talk to Scott Carson,
right.
Because I've met your coaching clients, and it's almost weird for people that don't know you. So now you're on this podcast, you're going to be in front of a lot of people that don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go on a limb, and maybe you don't want me to promote you in this way, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. But when I go to these events and I meet your mastermind people, they freaking love you. Like they would take a bullet for you.
I don't think they go that far, but that's nice though. Thanks.
I'm not kidding. These people have you've shown them a light, and you've shown them a world they didn't know they could get into. And all of a sudden their lives are changing. And I'm not trying to make this into a commercial to come to a Scott Carson event, but my point is, there are a lot of people out there that talk about stuff. They read it in a book and they're full of, I almost started swearing. Anyway, they're not
full of goat poop.
In Texas, you're in Texas, right? Those are the people they say all hat, no cattle.
Amen to that.
Right?
Yeah.
They've never really done it, but they know how to talk about it. And then once in a while you meet somebody who actually did it first, got good at it. It's so good at it that people said, can you show me? And that's you. You were already a super performer and you've stayed focused. You know, you're not out buying, you're not developing land. You're not doing commercial high rises. You're not buying malls. You're buying distress notes, and you're buying them by the hundreds. And I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that on your show, but the point is I've watched what you do. You're not just a teacher, you're a practitioner. And that's valuable. We're the same way. I've been a guy who's been starting companies forever. I didn't come up with the idea for Laughlin Associates. I bought the company and I took it from a 1-state company to a 50-state company, and from a kind of a one product company to a multi-product company. And people wonder why we keep growing and we keep becoming more successful. Well, it's because you've got somebody who knows how to start businesses, helping people who are starting businesses. You know, it's not just something, oh, I learned it in school and I heard you could take a 30-day course and, you know, get a certificate, and here I am. You know, surround yourself with people who've actually been down the road and listen to those people. If they've been down the road and they've succeeded enough, they went down the road and they've only failed. It's like going to a marriage. I'm going to go take marriage counseling from somebody who's divorced 6 times. You know?
Yeah. Doesn't work.
Or I'm going to go to a dating coach who's never found real love. You know, they're really great at first dates. Well, go to somebody who's actually succeeded, you know, and you've succeeded in that. You know, people ask me all the time about marriage stuff. Like, how do you have this happy marriage? Well, it's because I've been married for 30 years and we get happier every year. So go to somebody and ask advice from people who actually know what the hell they're talking about and haven't just read it in a book.
Everybody's got an opinion. Very few people have a quality experience. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. What did you say, Aaron?
I said that's the end of my diatribe. I kind of went off there for a minute.
It's all right. We'll let you slide in there on that aspect. But one of the things that we see a lot of, and I'm a big proponent of this thing, it's not if you're going to get sued, it's when you're going to get sued if you're in business long enough.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have 94% of the world's litigation in the United States. Every 22 seconds, there's a lawsuit filed against a business, and 59% of those are companies of $1 million or smaller. So, I mean, that's Main Street USA. 59% of this thing that's costing small business over what is it? It's $1.05 billion a year in defending frivolous litigation.
Wow.
That's just small businesses.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's totally crazy.
That's a huge amount of money. Anyway, but yeah, so you're gonna get sued if you're really in the game. You're gonna get sued.
Yeah, and we have that happen often. We've had tenants sue us that we weren't even the landlords on stuff. You know, I had just one lawsuit finally kicked out of federal court from a tenant who would not get that I had to evict on a property that we bought the note on, foreclosed, offered him up to stay, didn't want to pay, and we evicted, and then it's drug on for almost a year now, and finally done. But that stuff happens. I mean, you have deals.
You win, right? You win.
Yep.
You win, but you had to deal with it and pay a lawyer, and it cost you money to get to win what should have never even gotten into court.
Yep.
And the thing is, in the United States, because we have lawyers that will work on commission, and that's a whole industry, contingency fee litigation. You know, you pay nothing now until you win, right? Come call the law office, you know, of Dewey, Scrum, and Howe, and that's, you know, and we'll represent you.
Dewey, Scrum, and Howe. That's great. Like that.
And Sorry, I shouldn't be saying all this stuff. But anyway, but we have that, and we don't have what's called loser pays. In most countries, you can't have commission-based lawsuits, and there's a loser pay. So if somebody brings a frivolous lawsuit and they lose, they have to pay both sides legal bills. So it really discourages frivolous litigation. And but we don't have that here. And so small business owners are taken hostage regularly or extorted out of money. Somebody brings a lawsuit against them. They have to keep defending themselves. And finally they say, what can we do to just settle this stupid thing? Mm-hmm. And you, like for us, it's usually on things we didn't hire somebody, because they were too old, too young, too black, too white, too fat, too skinny, too something we did wrong, and we didn't respect them, in our hiring or firing, or I mean, it's just insane. And you guys get it too. Somebody's living in a house, not paying a bill, won't pay their bill, won't renegotiate. So you say, okay, well, sorry, you have to move. And they're like, no, I'll sue you. I mean, that's insanity.
Yep.
It's insanity, but it is the court system. And a very small fraction of cases ever get to court. Most of them are settled. And mostly it's the business owner who's paying a lawyer who's saying, I just have to end this nonsense.
Right.
But if you defend yourself properly, build the right entity around you, you have the right corporate veil protection. So the lawyer looks at that and says, that's going to be a hard nut to crack. I won't take it on commission. I'll have to get paid by the hour. That stops lawsuits before they even start. And thankfully, that's one of the things we pride ourselves on is our clients, if they're set up properly, if they'll follow the counsel, most things that could go wrong against them will stop before they start, because that contingency, that commission-based lawyer goes, not this one. There's easier cases. I'm not going to take this one.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I love that you guys have done in just recent last couple of years, start putting the event together, bringing a lot of those high-level experts, attorneys, CPAs together. Why don't you take a couple minutes and talk about your event that's upcoming here in November, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's November 17, 18, 19 or something like that. It's that weekend. So we've been doing events for years. Actually, we used to put on, before I met you, before the recession, we were putting on 80 to 90 live events a year. You know what that's like, because you used to put on lots of small events. Yeah. Most of those were half-day events in the Holiday Inn, little hotel room, and then 4 3-day long events, similar to what you're doing. After the recession, between the recession and the dramatic increase in information you could get on the internet with the explosion of YouTube and so on, there was less reason for people to travel to an event. You had to be providing something really special, really unique, in order to have people travel from around the country, around the world, to come to an event. So as we came out of the recession and we thought, how can we rethink our events? We started this, what used to be called the Secrets of Using a Corporation workshop. We said, we can do more. We can provide more value. And so we said, what do people really want? They want wealth. How can we help them either get wealth or grow their wealth? And that's what we call it now, the Magnify Your Wealth Summit. And we talk about the entity stuff. We talk about the compliance stuff. We talk about multi-jurisdictional, multi-entity strategies that are for people who have built up some more wealth or a bigger empire. So there's stuff for the beginner, for the person who's got a company who's growing, who now has some level of discretionary money and they want to start using different entities to do that. And then we bring in people like Scott Carson and other lawyers, CPAs, financial strategists, and so on, to talk about how do you really build a plan for your situation and to achieve the specific outcome. How do you get to that dream that you want? Begin with the end in mind. That's how we started this conversation. Begin with the end in mind. That's what our conference is all about. The Magnify Your Wealth Summit is all about, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what are some resources that you could bring to bear that maybe you don't even know about yet, like distress notes, to just slingshot you much more quickly to your goal. And so we do that down in San Diego, California. We used to do them all at Lake Tahoe and either Reno or Las Vegas because it was close to our offices. We found that people like to go to San Diego. And so we're right there on Mission Bay, there in the northern part of San Diego. It's a beautiful hotel. It's a really cool ballroom, this big glass ballroom that people love being in. And you're right there on the marina. It's a fantastic place to not only get great education, but also to sit And this is one of the things that we love to provide is that we ask our presenters to all stay for the entire 3 days, and you can schedule one-on-one time with that trust lawyer, with that CPA, with that bookkeeping company, with Scott Carson, with others, so that you can start to custom tailor a plan. And then you've got our employees there to say, okay, if that's what you want to do, what's the right structural stuff, entity stuff that we need to do to accomplish that? And if the plan is kind of a multi-year plan, what do we need to do today? And then let's get drawn up on what we call a blueprint strategy. What's the blueprint of the growth? So now as we progress and we hit benchmarks, now it's time to add the next entity, add the trust, add the limited partnership, whatever. It's a tremendous value for people. I love it if people would want to come. Should I tell them where they can go look
sure.
up like if we go to Grow, go to www.grow in 2017. So GROWIN 2017. Growin2017.com. And if you decide you want to join us at the Magnify Your Wealth Summit, the prices have gone up. So we had early bird pricing that ended about a month ago. So it was $399. Now I think it's $699. The next, it'll go at the end of this month to $999. And then the last 6 weeks before the event, it goes to $14.99. And there will be people standing at the table, at the registration table, happens every single time, who decided at the last minute to come and will pay $1,500 to sit in the room. But right now the price is $699. But if people want to go, because it's us, if you want to go in and just when you register, or you can call the office and ask questions too. But if you decide to register, just put in their VIP, put in there as a coupon code VIP, and that'll get you the early bird pricing of $399.
Nice.
And, and it's three. I mean, here's the deal: we limit it to 100 people. It sells out every single time. So I don't need to fill it with a bunch of low priced things. But for your tribe, buddy, and especially as you're going from just your Facebook Lives to this new podcast format, which I'm super excited that you're doing, because I think you're going to reach a much broader market. We'd love those people that are ready, who know they want to do something better for their business, and they want to make sure they're safe. We'd love to have them there to Magnify Your Wealth. And that should be a little $300 bonus for listening to your podcast today.
There you go. Exactly. We got a question or comment, Nicole? No, we're good. Okay. So yeah, one of the best events to go to. I love it. You had, I don't know who you have an MC this last time. We had Scott Duffy MC last time.
Michelle Young.
Michelle is your lovely wife is MCing.
Not my idea. Megan Cole, our VP, said, who needs to be our MC is Michelle.
That's smart. Megan's online watching this right now. Good job, Megan.
I hate to tell you this, Scott. Because you're a speaker, I'm a speaker. Guess who got the top ratings of all the speakers?
Your wife did, didn't she?
Can you freaking believe that? She kicked all the professional people's butts and she's a phenomenal coach. I mean, she's a great life coach. But you know what the thing is with Michelle? Michelle, it's all about the audience. It's not about the presenter.
Yeah.
Right. And one of my favorite quotes in the speaking world is never let what you want to say get in the way of what the audience needs to hear. And I think Megan saw that maybe the MC this time will be super in tune with the audience. So it'll be fun to watch her go. I couldn't be more proud of her, but I hate to say it, but I would have never thought to ask my wife to be the MC.
You know what? That's why you have great people around you. Behind every successful man is even a more powerful women in a lot of cases.
Yeah, or women. It's the best thing I ever did for my career, for my family, my entire life is just so much greater because at 22 years old, I married this 19-year-old girl and we figured it out. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. So anyway, who knew she'd be running my events?
Hey, a lot of people evolve over time, and that's what happens. People grow, evolve, and what's great is when you can have the same goals lined up. That's what's not get into talk about America because I've been divorced, but when you see people who have the same goals, the same mindset, the same passion for living in each other, that's an unbreakable bond, you know, and it evolves.
Yep.
You've had your ups, you've had your downs. We've gone through that, and we won't get into that now. But
No.
every relationship has its ups and downs. It's a matter of whether you come together and focus on, okay, how we're going to tackle this together. You know, you get your back against each other in a foxhole and work it out, and you get through those things, and you're much stronger. And then you have these peaks, and then the valleys now are so even higher than the peaks were 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. And what you find out is that, and you find this out in business, is that at some point, a lot of people are afraid, and I don't know how long we're going to go today, but I mean, I know that a lot of people maybe listening to the podcast now are nervous about, you know, should I try this new thing out? I've never heard of this distress note thing. Should I start my own business, or should I stay in my safe job? You know, what you learn over time, because if you go out and play the game and you play it for a long time, like I have, like you have, I mean, I'm 34 years now signing my own checks, right? And what you learn after going through those peaks and valleys and tech bubbles and real estate bubbles and you know, government battles and lawsuits and embezzlement and all kinds of stuff that happens over time, is you go, well, what else can they do to me? Like, what else can come that I haven't dealt with already? And so you gain a level of confidence, and it's when you get that confidence of, I mean, who cares? So maybe there'll be a challenge. Somebody's going to do it. Why not me? And you start doing it, and then all of a sudden you get these tremendous results that mom and dad never told you could get. Your college teacher, your middle school, econ teacher never told you this stuff. And you're like, I remember the first time I flipped a house. It was multi-acre. We divided it into 3 lots. We sold the house. So between this one project, I made, I don't know, close to $400,000. And I'm like, what the hell? How did I not know this existed before? It wasn't even hard. How did I not know this? And when your eyes get opened up to the possibilities of running your own business, of taking chances on things, on learning how to do something very niche like you do, but it's super valuable, your world will change for the better in a way that you can't understand until you go ahead and don't just dip your little toe in the pool. You got to jump in the pool. And if you do it halfway, people sign up for MLM stuff all the time thinking, oh, I'm going to get rich working 2 hours a week, and they never do. They never do. And then they get disillusioned with direct sales. Well, that's crap. The people who work direct sales like a real business get rich. And it's like anything else. You have to dive in. You have to drink the Kool-Aid and quit waiting for somebody to solve your problems and make you rich. You have to do it. And if you have the guts to do it, I'll tell you what, between you and me, Scott, we can help people get rich.
Yeah.
And we can help people not only get rich, but live a life where you get to go do super awesome stuff. And the stories you tell have to do with, the cool resort you were at, or the great vacation you just took, or the people you met online at a private event, right? I mean, or like me, when my eyes went like this and I'm going, I'm supposed to be up on the Pacific Crest Trail starting Wednesday next week.
Well,
so
that's right.
We did talk after this is over. Yeah, I have to talk to you about making sure when we do that recording.
Sure.
But anyway, listen, brother, you're doing good stuff, and we're here to put a chainmail and Kevlar and a suit of armor around people. But what happens within the context of that safety net of the corporation LLC is something they can learn from you or from other people like you. I mean, we're going to be at this distress note thing. There are a lot of voices out there. You just happen to be one of the, maybe count them on 2 fingers, top people in the country teaching this stuff. So anyway, awesome to be with you.
Awesome to be with you too. And I think it's probably, we're getting up right at about a minute left here with everything. So thank you for those kind words, Aaron. But that's why we have you on here, is because we think the same thing just about you guys. And the proof is in the pudding. Number of clients, number of students that work with you guys. I have yet to hear anybody ever say bad things about you. I mean, we use you guys on a regular basis as well too for stuff. But once again, guys, the best way to get a hold of Laughlin Associates is go to the website again is www.laughlin.usa.com, or you can reach out to, as Megan posted it here on the Facebook Live as well, 1-800-648-0966. Once again, 1-800-648-0966. And pick their brains, ask them questions, and they'll definitely send you down the right road and the right path to riches, I guess you could say. So,
and if they want to talk to me, if people want to write to support at aaronscottyoung.com, I'd be happy to, if I can do anything to help, I'd love to help too.
Sure. That's support at aaronscottyoung.com, everybody. So, Aaron, thanks for joining us today. But I know you're busy there. You got a busy day ahead of you. Thanks for fitting us in to your always hectic and fun schedule. Give a big hug to Michelle and the kids and everybody out there for us as well. All right.
All right, brother. Thanks. Good to be on here. And congratulations on the new show, man. I know it's a continuation of an old show. This is episode 152, but it's only number 3 or 3 or something for your podcast. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm subscribed, and I'm looking forward to listening as I travel around the country.
Sounds good, brother. Well, hey, everybody, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. Make sure to go on to iTunes and leave a great comment. Give us a couple of stars on there, and feel free to share this with people out there as well. If you've got what you hear you like, want to share it with the people that surround you, your tribes, feel free to do that. We'd love to help out. Once again, you always contact us at weclosenotes.com to answer any of your note questions. But that'll wrap it up for the day. Once again, Aaron, thank you so much. Once again, honored, as always, to have you, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.